shorts on backwards. No, a drink. Drink. Now, this is only a gag. I don't drink anymore. I freeze it now, and I eat it like a popsicle.
Dean Martin, known as King of Cool, was a member of the legendary Rat Pack. Although he had no doubt a colorful life, he did not lack tragedy and sadness. Today, Dean Martin's children are confessing the truth about his private life. Considered one of the most iconic singers of his generation, he is synonymous with his hits "Everybody Loves Somebody." And that's Amore, but behind the screen of success lies a shocking story. The last events of his life cast a sharp light on his private world.
Everybody loves somebody sometime. Everybody falls in love somehow.
Dean Martin was born as Dino Paul Crosetti in 1917 in Steubenville, Ohio, the son of Italian immigrants Angela and her husband, a hairdresser, Guy Crocotti. Martin spoke only Italian until he was 5 years old, resulting in persecution at school. It is not known whether it affected his psyche or not, but the future singer eventually dropped out of school at the age of 16. Guy attempted to talk his son into attending a hairdresser's school when he dropped out of school, but Martin had other ideas. The novice performer experimented with roles such as a gas joker, a drug dealer, a dairy farmer, and at one time he even turned pro boxer. Martin was hit during a boxing bout and went on to work as a blackjack dealer in a bar, where he began amusing his co-workers with his singing. After hearing his voice, Ernie Mackay offered him a spot on the team, which finally led Martin to quit his job and start moving up the A-list. Martin began his entertainment career at the age of 17. Singing at nightclubs in Ohio with Ernie Mackay, he was hired by Sammy Watkins of Cleveland, with whom he began touring in 1938, calling himself Dino Martini. A few years later, he finally chose his now famous nickname. However, changing his name was not all Martin did. He also created a lot of his personality. In fact, due to his boxing past, the singer was performed a nasal plastic of a broken nose, for which he paid Lou Costello. As far as club performances are concerned, it turns out that Martin's talent for singing songs and simultaneously drinking from a glass of whiskey took over in the late 1950s by Phil Harris, a man who built his career on the images of a drunken, female drinker.
He said scotch and carrot juice. I said, why? He said, I get drunk, but I see good. But, you know, I want to say one thing in all seriousness. I feel sorry for you people that don't drink. I mean it, because when you wake up in the morning, that's as good as you're going to feel all day.
And although Martin carefully built his image, he was still not too sociable. According to Deseret News, the singer told Oriana Fallaci in 1967 that whenever he had a social meeting, most of the time he behaved quietly because he didn't know how to speak English well. In 1946, Dean Martin's career truly took off after he started working with Jerry Lewis. After meeting at a nightclub party, this comedic pair started incorporating each other into their stage shows. The pair started making movies together the next year, and in 1950 they honored local theaters around the nation with the Colgate Comedy Hour program. Martin and Lewis collaborated on 16 films between 1949 and 1956. Even though they were successful, there was a growing tension behind the camera, and Martin had the impression that Lewis had too much control over their work. When Martin began working without his comedy partner in July 1956, they played their last performance and broke up, breaking all ties.
Bells will ring, ting-a-ling-a-ling, ting-a-ling-a-ling, and you'll sing Vita Bella.
Bravo, Joe.
Hearts will play tippy-tippy-tay, tippy-tippy-tay, like a gay tarantella. Lucky fella.
Martin and Lewis's common friend Frank Sinatra tried to facilitate a reconciliation on the screen in 1976, which People magazine described as uncomfortable, and it was only after the tragic death of Martin's eldest son, Dean Paul Martin Jr., in 1987 that the two decided to make amends, and Lewis was present at the funeral. Martin resumed working on his solo vocal career after splitting up with the comic combo, eventually relocating to Las Vegas. His career started out as a performer with the renowned Rat Pack, a Hollywood clique that included Peter Lawford, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., and Joey Bishop. The Rat Pack, who portray an amazing life filled of luxury, women and alcohol, have moved from Vegas shows to collaborative appearances on motion pictures. What connected Sinatra and Martin was unique. They remained friends for over 40 years, performing on stage, filming, even bringing families together in Palm Springs and Los Angeles. A year after Martin's son's death in 1987, his relationship with Sinatra fell into crisis. Trying to cope with the loss, Martin abandoned his friend on the tour. That's when the quarrel began. After the death of Martin Sinatra, he perfectly summarized the duet relationship, saying that Dean was like the air he breathed, that he was his brother not of blood, but of choice. Dean Martin started living a life surrounded by the glitz and glamour of Hollywood's elite once he joined the Rat Pack in the late 1950s. Humphrey Bogart and his wife Lauren Bacall were part of the original Rat Pack. The Rat Pack Confidential claims that Bacall advised against staying up late, drinking excessively, laughing and caring what other people thought of you. So what role did Martin play? Martin was seen as the greatest party maker. Interestingly, the image that Martin made available to the public could not have been more divergent from reality. As Desert Sun revealed, he was usually the first member of the group to come home when the late drunken nights came. As comedian Tom Dreesen told The Portal, who performed in front of Sinatra, if old Blue Eyes demanded that everyone from the Rat Herd go to the party before dawn, the whole group would go except for Martin. Nevertheless, Dean Martin's time with the Rat Pack solidified his status as the king of cool, a moniker that stuck for the rest of his career. Although he was a member of the party-heavy Rat Pack, Dean Martin was, at his core, a family man. According to Desert Sun, the singer had a loving blended family, 4 children with Elizabeth MacDonald, his first wife, and 3 more children with his second wife, Jan. And while Martin was known to hit the town with Rat Pack member Frank Sinatra, they also made a point to have joint family outings too. The Sinatras were a big part of our lives, Martin's daughter, Deanna, recalled in her book, Memories Are Made of This, adding, and the kids from the 2 families were great pals. But the star's happy home life wasn't to last, and after his son Dean Paul Dino passed away in 1987, something inside of him altered. Dino, an Air National Guard captain, reportedly vanished in the mountains after taking out on a training trip, according to Desert Sun. Days of searching followed, at which time President Ronald Reagan dispatched a military aircraft to look for Martin's kid. In the end, the distressed Alista recruited 2 psychics, one of whom was named Char, to assist him in his hunt. According to Deanna's memoir, Char flew in a private helicopter and pinpointed the region she thought gave the strongest signals and found the crashed jet with no survivors. It turns out that the golden liquid inside Martin's ubiquitous beverage was actually Martinelli brand apple juice. Martin's drunk, slurred speech was reportedly just for show, according to the Desert Sun. Patti Gribbo, the crooner's backup vocalist and dancer, actually admitted to the source that the crooner's identity was a ruse. Lewis corroborated this claim in an interview with BU Today. In 1961, Martin revealed to the Saturday Evening Post that he drinks about 1/10 as much, as to noting that his days of guzzling alcohol are something that he gave up some time ago. Heartbreakingly enough, it's the death of his son Dino in 1987 that changed all that. Dean became an alcoholic.
Thank you very much. No. You're very kind. No, I'm not through. No, I'm just starting, Jack.
Have you ever marveled at how informal the Dean Martin show was when watching it? It turns out that a relaxed atmosphere prevailed during the taping of Dean Martin's now famous show. Martin's immensely popular hit song Everybody Loves Somebody, which even beat out the Beatles to become the #1 hit in America for 1 week, was released in 1964, according to Biography. An invitation to appear on his own variety program was made to him by NBC a year later. Martin stated, according to Nostalgia Central, that he could own the package 100% after the first showing of the series, that he simply wanted to work on Sundays and that he was under no need to sing. With all of the backing dancers, he had a stand-in run-through rehearsals for his soon-to-be immensely successful show because he would only be able to work on Sundays. According to Desert Sun, unless there was a football game on television, Martin would sometimes watch the rehearsal through his dressing room monitor. The Dean Martin Show saw a whopping 40 million viewers tune in from 1965 to 1974. Want to know why this show's a hit? The entertainer once asked. The reason is that it's me up there on that screen. It ain't nothing phony, that's really me. Elvis Presley, who was regarded as the king of rock roll, had a tense relationship with big band crooners who came before him. For example, Frank Sinatra was well known for not liking rock and roll. Old Blue Eyes allegedly said in a newspaper that rock was phony and false, adding that it was sung by cretinous goons. According to Last Train to Memphis, in actuality, Sinatra didn't give Elvis the recognition he deserved until the two performed together in 1960. It may come as a surprise that Elvis was still influenced by the King of Cool, given that Dean Martin and his Rat Pack member were almost best friends. Martin was one of Elvis Presley's singing idols. It's of the early 1950s, according to Penn State York, and he even recorded Martin's hit song, I Don't Care If the Sun Don't Shine, in 1954. Indeed, at a concert where his idol was present, Elvis sang Martin's Everybody Loves Somebody. Penn State York notes that this was a moment he probably wouldn't forget until his death. According to Elvis Australia, Martin's daughter, Deanna, once recalled a moment where she met Elvis. The rock icon allegedly leaned in and declared, "They call me the king of rock and roll, but your dad is the king of cool." Interestingly, Dean Martin, who lived to be 78 years old, only read one book in his lifetime, Anna Sewell's Black Beauty. If you have luck, you don't have to be smart, the comedian was once quoted as saying in bestsellers from the US government printing office. Martin was not very book smart, but that doesn't imply he didn't read comic books were, as The Guardian pointed out, his idea of serious reading. He adored them and continued to read the vibrant tales well into adulthood. One of the rare occasions the King of Cool was ever starstruck, according to his partner Jerry Lewis, was when he first met Bob Kane, the guy who created Batman. It's interesting to note that Martin's passion for comic books led to the opportunity to star in his own. The 40 comic book series Adventures of Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis ran from 1952 to 1957, according to DC Fandom, and featured Martin and Lewis as its subjects. Dean Martin died on Christmas Day 1995 of acute respiratory failure. The performer's health was deteriorating for a few years before then. In September 1993, he was diagnosed with lung cancer. A mere 2 years later, he decided to retire from his professional career. Despite having a large following of friends and admirers, Martin lived a private and quiet life in his later years. The singer enjoyed dining out but disliked being with a lot of people or attending parties, according to his manager Mort Viner. And although many attribute his reclusive behavior to the death of his kid in 1987, Martin insisted he was always the quiet kind. In remembrance of the legendary Rat Pack member, the lights on the Las Vegas Strip were turned off upon the announcement of Martin's passing. Naturally, his close friend Frank Sinatra made an emotional public statement that included the words, "There will always be a special place in my heart and soul" for Dean, as reported by the Los Angeles Times.